FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
When I was appointed ambassador to the United Nations, standing on the platform with Thurgood Marshall, Jimmy Carter handed me a note, just a little thing scribbled on a page in his own handwriting. I want you to go to Africa and ask African leaders what they expect of this administration. I said, is there anybody you want me to talk to? He said, no, talk to as many as you can in the next week or two, but ask their opinion. Well, that's revolutionary. An American government asking the world's opinion? But then I realized he did the same thing with Rosalynn, who went to Latin America, and with Mondale, who went to Asia, and with Cy Vance, who went to Europe, and with Bob Strauss, who went to the Middle East. All of us went around asking people's opinion. And what we got back was an agenda that was very similar to our own, except instead of us telling the world what we were going to do, we were helping the world to do what they wanted to do. Now, that's a whole lot different than coming into office and declaring an empire of evil or an axis of evil or whatever it is, and wanting to bully the world into doing your business. Jimmy Carter was able to do everything we set out to do. We got a treaty with Panama, and now they're talking about building a second Panama Canal, or widening this one so that the super tankers can go through. That's going to solve the immigration problem. We're going to be looking for Mexican farm workers, because once they start a $15 or $20 billion expansion of the Panama Canal, all of the workers who are trying to get here are going to go down to Panama because they want jobs, and they'll go where the work is. And so, but that wouldn't have been possible if we had not entered into a negotiation with the people of Panama and the people of that region and negotiated a treaty on that canal. Southern Africa transitioned with little or no killing. The Camp David Accord. There was, no Jew has killed any Egyptian since 1978, and no Egyptian has killed any Israeli since 1978. And Sadat and Begin never talked to each other. They were in separate cabins. Camp David's sort of not unlike this. And Jimmy Carter ran back and forth between their cabins until he got an agreement. But they never sat down with each other. And the first time they really shook hands was in the White House when they signed the agreement in public. But both wanted a treaty. Israel was more anxious about Egypt than anybody else, and Egypt was more humiliated by Israel than anybody else, and they both needed a treaty to survive. So we were able to do that, and we were able to get the Russians to agree to a non-proliferation of nuclear weapons treaty. We were able to bring China and Vietnam back into the United Nations, and nobody was killed. Nobody was killed, and we didn't kill anybody for 4 years in battle. And American interests were protected and preserved, and somehow they consider Carter a weak president. They criticized him for walking around wearing his sweaters because he said it's a whole lot better and more patriotic to put on a sweater and keep the thermostat down a little bit than to burn more gas and oil. That was considered crazy back then, and the press laughed at him. Now with oil, up to $140 a barrel, all of us are going to be going back to sweaters this winter. I think that what's patriotic and what's wise is always controversial.